Hello, it's me. Today we continue the true story from the previous episode. If you haven't watched the first part, click on the screen to watch the first part now. Without further ado, let's continue. Part 2. Life in hell. Once we arrived home, everything seemed fine. I had no idea what was about to happen in the coming years. However, hope would soon fade. Shortly after I returned home with my father, the first conversation was about my mother, whom he, of course, began to mock and tried to indoctrinate me in one way or another to convince me to hate her. That would have made him very happy. Unfortunately for him, as I mentioned above, I already had my own world that I was going to build once I managed to escape that toxic environment. This proves that no one can change your values or thoughts if you have a clear goal in mind to achieve something beautiful and good for yourself. After about 2 months, things started to get worse. I was still in high school when, one evening, just before going to bed because I had school the next day, my father came to me and said, "Vlad, get dressed and go into the forest. I need the horse for tomorrow morning because I have to go work for someone to make money. I don't even have money for beer. Got it, but I can't go. There's no way I can find the horse at night, and I have school tomorrow." The context: it was midnight. I had to walk 2 to 3 kilometers through the darkness. There was no chance I could find the horse in the forest. It was obvious, of course. Refusing was not an option, and since I didn't have his strength, he picked me up and locked me in the stable with the animals until morning. Naturally, I went to school like that the next day, because I had no access to clothes or a shower since I was punished. Honestly, the situation didn't bother me because, for me, each such challenge was a step closer to what I had set out to achieve. The conclusion was that no matter how hard it is, nothing can stop you if you want to reach higher. I was aware of one thing: whatever happened, I had to finish high school to have a chance to fulfill and create the world I dreamed of. Of course, I was mocked in every way, both at school and everywhere else. I didn't trust anyone enough to tell the truth about why I was the way I was. Even though everyone could clearly see his behavior and daily states of excessive drunkenness, for me, it was clear that there was no point in wasting words, and it was much better to fight, to strive for what was to come. My dream was much more important than words meant to justify something that was obvious. Going back, his aggressive and drunken states had already become usual and were about to escalate even more through violence. One weekend we had to take fertilizer to the plants, which could be transported with the horse cart. Obviously, I slipped and said, "Can't you ever be sober? That's why you destroyed your family." Naturally, I would regret what I said, but I swore I wouldn't shed a tear no matter what happened. My intuition was correct. My punishment was as follows. I had to take the place of the horses at the cart and be whipped on my back. As I expected, I was seriously hurt. Well, maybe not as much as he was expecting me to be. I couldn't eat for several days, but this was only the beginning. He was getting angrier and angrier with every passing day, while I was trying to learn, study, and prepare for my exams in any free moment I had. For me, the most important thing was to graduate from high school so that no one could ever say I didn't have a level of education. So, as time went by, things started to get worse and worse. It was clear to everyone in the neighborhood that my dad was losing his mind. In addition to physical labor, there were also more punishments, beatings, humiliations, etc. And all this stress caused by my father led to serious health problems. First it was my leg, then stomach pain. At some point I started having problems with my heart, which never went away, and I often feel discomfort due to the stress my body experienced at that age. After graduating from high school, I had finished with that school once and for all, and I felt that I had to leave that place, especially since I didn't want to repeat my father's mistakes and become like him. But unfortunately, I was very young and didn't have a job or money, so I couldn't leave. Moreover, even if I did, where would I go? Who would accept me without knowing the whole truth and being afraid of my father's reaction? These questions tormented me, but I knew that sooner or later I would manage to escape. Even despite the fact that life was incredibly difficult, I dreamed of becoming a police officer to punish the guilty and help the innocent, something that was denied to me in my own family, which gave me double motivation to train myself physically and mentally. I woke up every morning before sunrise, trained, and in the evening. After helping my father with farm work, I studied until late at night by the light of a kerosene lamp. When I took my first steps towards the police academy, I also realized that I needed to take care of my appearance. Therefore, I started exercising and gaining muscle mass, which helped me a lot later in my life. Even though my father treated me badly, I thank him for that because those torments tempered my will and character like fire. Later, I showed in practice what I was capable of, and people recognized me as a leader. Looking back now, I can say with certainty that all my achievements were overshadowed by the injustice done to me as a child. All the victories I achieved in life, they were twice as sweet. Unfortunately, I was too young to understand that I could use my experiences from childhood to achieve even greater success. Now I know that everything happens for a reason, and all the bad things that happen to us are for our own good. I say this because I deal with similar situations in my life now and see how people can benefit from them and move mountains. It is indeed possible, because later in life I saw many people who had worse situations than mine, and they overcame them. They even used their negative experiences to achieve incredible things. I wish I had known that earlier. Everything could have been much easier and faster. But anyway, I'm grateful for everything I've been through. It made me the man I am today. To be continued. See you soon. Peace.